Hello friends. Today we will discuss about Neonatal Resuscitation program. So currently we have NRP 8th edition, and if you ask what is the difference between resuscitation to the newborns compared to the adult, newborns we mainly focus on the breathing, establishment of effective ventilation, than on focusing on the chest compression. The reason being, in newborns, majority of times heart will be healthy. The main problem is transition, that is from intrauterine environment to the extrauterine environment. This transition is the problem where baby needs some resuscitation. So during why the problem happens in transition is, in the intrauterine life, baby will be receiving both food and this exchange of gases like receiving oxygen and removing carbon dioxide will be happening through the umbilical cord. Once the baby is born and the umbilical cord are cut, then baby has to inhale and he has to remove the water that is filled in his lungs. He has to expand, and this exchange of air, that is in, the extraction of oxygen and removing of carbon dioxide, has to be taken over by lungs from the umbilical cord. This transition is the in this transition majority of times problem can happen, because of which babies will fail to initiate breath or fail to sustain their initiated breath. Okay, so what are the steps in neonatal resuscitation? So we'll see. So this is the NRP algorithm. So before the birth, we have to do antenatal counseling, team briefing, equipment check. Once we get the information from the doctor who is managing the mother, and after taking the relevant history from the doctor, so we have to counsel if possible both the parents. If mother is not, if you are not able to counsel the mother because she is in the she is in not a state to receive counsel, then you have to counsel the father, and you have to have team briefing and equipment check. And after the birth of the baby, we have to consider for 3 questions. That is, if it is a term gestation, is the tone is good, and if baby is breathing or crying. If answer for all the 3 questions are yes, then baby will stay with the mother for initial steps and will initiate routine care, and the baby will receive ongoing evaluation. If any of the question out of these 3 are no, then you have to put the umbilical cord clamp immediately, cut the cord and receive the baby on warmer, and you have to do the initial steps. What are the initial steps? That is warm, dry and stimulate, position airway and suction if needed. Then you have to consider whether there is apnea or gasping, or if heart rate is less than 100 or not. If any one of these, if apnea or gasping is present, or if heart rate is less than 100, you will start positive pressure ventilation. If answer is no, then you have to check whether baby has any labored breathing or any persistent sinuses. If either labored breathing or persistent sinuses, then position the airway, suction if needed, put pulse oximeter to the right upper limb, oxygen as needed, and consider for CPAP. But if apnea or gasping or heart rate less than 100, if any one of the question is yes, then baby will receive positive pressure ventilation, pulse oximeter, and consider putting EEG. Okay, this till positive pressure ventilation, it should be completed within 1 minute. This is because this is golden minute. After starting positive pressure ventilation, you have to consider whether heart rate is less than 100 or not. Less than 100, then you have to ensure adequate ventilation. Consider endotracheal intubation through and delivering the ventilation through endotracheal tube or through laryngeal mask airway (LMA), and cardiac monitor if it has not been already put. If it is heart rate is not less than 100, then consider for post resuscitation care and team debriefing. If heart rate is less than 60, then continue intubation or mask airway, start chest compression, and whenever we are giving chest compression, we have to coordinate with positive pressure ventilation with 100% oxygen. And during that time, you have to put umbilical vein catheter. And if heart rate is less than 60 persistently, after 1 minute of chest compression, you can start giving injection epinephrine, and epinephrine can be repeated every 3 to 5 minutes. If heart rate is persistently less than 60 and not improving, you have to consider for other possibilities also, like pneumothorax or hypovolemia. And these are the target oxygen saturation which is recommended. So after the birth, if at 1 minute, if you are giving a supplemental oxygen, you have to maintain this saturation. That is between 60 to 65%. If it is 2 minutes after birth, 65 to 70, 3 minutes, 70 to 75, 4 minutes, 75 to 80, 5 minutes, 80 to 85, 10 minutes, 85 to 95. So you can see, for baby to attain saturation of more than 90%, it will take at least around 10 minutes. So when baby is born, his saturation is only around 60 to 65% roughly. So, and what is the initial oxygen when we are oxygen that we have to give when we are initiating positive ventilation is, if baby is less than 35 weeks of gestation age, you can initiate of FiO2 of between 21 to 30%. And if gestation is more than 35 weeks of gestation age, you should start with 21%. And it should be adjusted as per this oxygen target saturation as they have mentioned. NRP suggests some key behavioral skills for a team. So total there are 10 key behavioral skills. They are: know your environment, use available information, anticipate and plan, clearly identify a team leader, communicate effectively, delegate the work accordingly, allocate attention wisely, use available resources, call for additional help when needed, and maintain professional behavior. So about know your environment, you have to know the location and available where the necessary equipments will be available and everything in the know your environment. And you have to get all the available information before delivery as much as possible from the doctor who is managing the mother. After that, you have to anticipate and plan. Like if it is a twin that is going to be delivered, then you have to have the team ready for receiving both the babies with necessary equipments. And if it is a preterm, then you should have all the equipments like TPs and appropriate mask for that baby. Fourth one is clearly identify team leader. So when it comes for the team leader, you have to identify team leader before the birth when you have team briefing. And effective leader, you should have the characteristics like clearly articulate goals and delegate the task appropriate by monitoring the distribution of workload, include other team members in assessment and planning, think out loud. That is, he should say what he is thinking out loud along with the team, and maintain situational awareness. That is, he should maintain the big picture and hand over the leadership to another team member if they must become involved in the procedure. And it doesn't mean team leader should be the senior most person or most experienced person. No. Team leader can be anyone among the team who is trained in the NRP, and it's advised to frequently change the roles or positions in NRP. But team leader is needed so that he will maintain the actually big picture. Then comes communicate effectively. So as per NLP, effective communication is the very important thing, because the most common reason for not delivering the effective recitation is main thing is not having a good communication and good team effort. So how should we communicate effectively? You should call your team members by name, share information actively, inform your team if you identify a problem, error, or patient safety concern. Order medications by name, dose, and route. Like, I need injection adrenaline 1:10,000 of 0.2 ml IV. And use concise, clear language. Use closed loop communication. That is, you will say that I need this medication, and the person you are asking, he will repeat the same, that you need this medication of this amount, and once again when he handovers that medication, he will repeat that I am handovering you this medication. So this is closed loop communication. Verify information and ensure that changes in information or assessment are shared with all team members, and include family members in communication as appropriate. Then delegate workload accordingly. So you should see that do not duplicate work or use more resources than necessary. Change task assessment depending on skills set and what is required at the moment. Do not allow one person to become overloaded with tasks, and do not allow team members to be fixated on a single task. And next, allocate your attention wisely. So maintain situation awareness by scanning and reassessing the clinical situation frequently, and monitor each other skills performance to ensure patient safety. And use available resources, right? Know what personnel are available, and know what additional or special supplies are available, and how to access. And call for additional help whenever you are needed. So anticipate the need for additional team members based on risk factors and progress of the recitation. Call for additional help in a timely manner, and know how you will call for additional help and processes for getting the right kind of assistance. And this is important, maintain professional behavior. So what is this professional behavior? So use respectful verbal and non-verbal communication. Actively seek and offer assistance. Support and promote teamwork, and respect and value your team. So these 10 things are the key behavioral skills as per NLP. So we'll come to the starting off with antenatal counseling, team briefing, and equipment check. Regarding the antenatal counseling, you have to know the risk factors about the mother and the baby. So what are the questions that you should ask to the doctor who is managing the mother? So there are 4 questions you should ask. They are: what is the expected gestation age? And is the amniotic fluid clear? And are there any additional risk factors? And what is the umbilical cord management plan? Okay. So what is the expected gestation age, whether it's a term or preterm? So based on that, you have to anticipate about the delivery. And is the amniotic fluid clear? If it comes to an amniotic fluid, then there is it suggests that baby has intermittent hypoxia, and you should be ready for the resuscitation of the baby. And are there any additional risk factors? So additional risk factors like antepartum risk factors and intrapartum risk factors. So for example, as we already told, whether it's a preterm or not, and whether mother has any preeclampsia, maternal hypertension, multiple gestations like twins or triplets, fetal anemia, polyhydramnios, oligohydramnios, fetal macrosomia, high drops, or any other congenital malformation that you have found in the antenatal scan. Interpartum risk factors like emergency cesarean delivery, forceps or vacuum assisted delivery, or mother receiving any general anesthesia, or intrapartum bleeding, choriamnitis. So you have to know is there any additional risk factors. and you have to discuss with the doctor about the umbilical cord management plan, whether you are planning for delayed cord clamping or not. And then about the delayed cord clamping, currently NRP recommends delayed cord clamping of at least more than 30 seconds, whereas WHO recommends at least delayed cord clamping of 1 minute or more. And delayed cord clamping is not recommended when in 4 scenarios, like whenever baby requiring resuscitation, and whenever there is an antepartum bleeding, or any Doppler abnormalities like absent or reverse endostatic flow, and fourth one is when there is a multiple gestation. NRP advises currently there is no recommendation at these. Otherwise, even if it is a preterm, you can consider for delayed cord clamping if baby cries immediately after birth and it doesn't require any resuscitation immediately. And second is about team briefing. So already we discussed about the how team should behave, and what are the key behavioral skills the team should show. And about how many persons should be there for in a team to receive the baby. At least one person who is skilled in NRP should be there for receiving a baby, and if it is a twin, or how the as per the number of babies, that much number of persons who are skilled in the resuscitation should be there. Okay. And coming to that equipment check. So it is divided as temperature and airway, breathing, circulation, and drugs. So total there are 7 lists. So coming to the temperature, that is warm. Preheated warmer should be there. That is, warmer should be on for preheat at least 20 minutes before the delivery, and warm towels or blankets, and temperature sensor and sensor cover for prolonged resuscitation, hat or cap, and plastic bag or plastic wrap if it is less than 32 weeks of gestation, and thermal mattress if it is less than 32 weeks of gestation. Then coming to the clear airway, you should have a suction catheter at least of 10 or 12 French, and you should use the pressure of at least around 80 to 100 mm of H. And you can also use bulb syringe if you don't have a suction catheter and suction machine. And for auscultation, you should have stethoscope. For ventilation, to delivery positive pressure ventilation, either through self-inflating bag, also known as AMBU bag, or you can give through T-piece, or one more is anesthesia bag or flow inflating bag. So whenever we are using either T-piece or flow inflating bag, the flow meter should be set at 10 liter per minute, and oxygen that should be set is 21% for if gestation is more than 35 weeks, and between 21 to 30% if it is less than 35 weeks of gestation age. And you should have term and preterm sized mask, and 8 French OG tube, laryngeal mask airway, and cardiac monitor and leads. Coming to the oxygenation, you should have equipment to give free flow oxygen, and pulse oximeter with sensor and cover, and target oxygen saturation table. So one point is self-inflating bag. You cannot give free flow oxygen through the mouth and of the self-inflating bag. And for intubation, you should have laryngoscope with size 0 and 1 with stride blade and stylet optional, and ET tube of 2.5, 3, 3.5 and 4, and measuring tape or endotracheal tube insertion depth table, and scissors to cut the tape, and medication. So the medication which are used for resuscitation are epinephrine or adrenaline and normal saline, and we do soda bicarb or atropine or any other medication has not been suggested or not been advised. Only epinephrine and normal saline. Along with that, you can have supplies for placing emergency umbilical venous catheter and administering medications. These are the equipment check. So after antenatal counseling, team briefing, and equipment check, if we are attending the delivery, before at the time of attending delivery, you should follow the hygiene practices. You should wash your hands with sterile gloves. We ask the three questions: whether it's term gestation, the baby has good tone or not, and whether baby is breathing or crying. If for all the three questions, answer is yes, then we do the routine care. That is, this is the mother. Once the baby is born, we'll we'll see that we'll assess for whether tongue, tone, breathing or crying. If answer is yes, keep the baby on the mother the mother chest of the mother. If it is cesarean delivery, we'll do the initial steps. We'll dry the baby. So for drying, you should always start from the head, which has the biggest body surface area. So head, body, and limbs, and genital area. Remove the wet cloth, put the dry cloth. You have to keep the head of the baby to the one side. And if there is any separations, you can do the suctioning of the baby. So, and along with the initial steps, you have to continue the routine care. That is, initiate the breastfeeding and monitor for any distress and continue ongoing evaluation. Suppose once the baby is born and baby is not crying, or baby is preterm, or baby does not have any good tone. So what is the tone of the baby? Tone is like whether the baby is flexing all four limbs or not. If the baby has good tone, then all the four limbs will be flaccid. Tone is good, then it will be in a very good flexed position. So if tone is not good, or if it's a preterm, or if it is baby is not breathing or crying, then we will do the initial steps. But the difference is we will not do the initial steps at the side of the mother. We will take the baby to the mom. So baby has been born. We will assess the three questions. And for any one of the three questions, if answer is no, then we will put the cord line, cut the cord, and we will receive the baby image. Warmer. Okay. Before receiving, we have to put two pre-warmed cloths on which we will receive the baby. This is so suppose this is a warmer and these are the two pre-warmed linens. So we will receive the baby on the linens and we will do the already warm we are giving through the warmer. Then we will dry. So on the cloth which is just below the baby will dry from it. So as I said, we have to clean the head first because it has large body surface area, body, limbs, genitalia, and gently remove the wet cloth and put the baby on the dry. Dry. And if baby is not started breathing or crying, you can stimulate the baby either by pricking the soles or stimulating in the flank of the baby. And for position, you can put the shoulder roll so below the shoulder, so that baby has sleeping position. So it should not be baby's neck should not be flexed, or baby's neck should not be hyperextended. So it should be slightly extended so that it's in a sleeping position, so that airway is in the same line, and you have to do suction if needed. Okay. So whenever you do suctioning, so as we already told, either use 10 to 12 French of suction tube with pressure of 80 to 100 mm of Hg. At suctioning, you have to do suction of the mouth and then nose. So M comes before N. And you should be gentle and you should not stimulate the posterior pharynx. If you stimulate the posterior pharynx, it can cause vagal stimulation and it may lead to bradycardia. So when you need to do suctioning, you don't have to do suctioning all the time. Do suctioning whenever a baby has secretions which it's not able to clear by itself, or whenever you have to proceed for the further step. That is, you have to further proceed for positive pressure ventilation. So when you are doing suction, you have to turn the head to the one side so that secretions will collect on the side and you can do the suction. So after doing this, you have to assess the various gasping or heart rate is less than 100 or not. So for apnea or gasping, apnea means baby is not breathing at all. There is no breathing. Gasping is baby is trying to breathe but is not a good respiration. So baby is gasping like that, but it's not a good respiration or any sustained respiration. So if it is there, you can proceed for next step, that is positive ventilation. But respiration, if it's heart rate also. How do you check for heart rate? So heart rate should be checked by stethoscope only. You should not try to check for heart rate by assessing the pulse or by holding the umbilical cord. You should always assess by stethoscope only. And there is a method that is being described in NRP to assess for heart rate. So suppose two persons are there and ascertaining the heart, and another person will be counting how many times I will tap. So I'm ascertaining the now by keeping like this on the baby, and I will tap on the table how many number of times I hear the heart rate of the baby. Suppose I tap. If I tap 6 times in 6 seconds, so the other person who is standing there will multiply it by 10. So we have to count number of times that we have tapped, that is the number of heart rates that is in the 6 seconds, and multiply it by 10. So we'll get for 1 minute. Suppose if I tap for 6, that means there are 6 heartbeats in 6 seconds. So that means 6 into 10, 60 heartbeats in 1 minute. Suppose it was 10 beats in 6 seconds. That means 10 into 10, 100 heartbeat in 1 minute. So this is the way that has been suggested in NR. So after seeing whether apnea gasping is there or not, heart rate less than 100, then you have to check for whether labored breathing is there or not. Persistent cyanosis. So labored breathing is there any you have to see retraction or grunting or any nasal flaring. Along with that, cyanosis not only visible is not should be taken. So it is recommended to monitor the saturation with pulse oximeter. So pulse oximeter, whenever baby has either labored breathing or persistent cyanosis, next step is position the airway of the baby and do suctioning if required. Put the pulse oximeter to the right upper. So I am standing at the right side of the baby and putting the pulse oximeter to the right upper limb. You can put either to the wrist or to the fingers. Both are recommended. Only right upper limb is the recommended because we want periductal saturation to be seen. You can give oxygen if needed. And consider for putting CPAP. Okay, how to give oxygen? So oxygen, give oxygen. To give free flow oxygen, you can give the free flow oxygen through the oxygen tube connected to the flow meter. You should know that you cannot give the free flow oxygen through this end of the self-inflating bag or ambu bag, but you can give through backside of the self-inflating.
Right.
So if the answer for apnea or gasping is yes, or heart rate is less than 100, but if any one of the out of two is answer is yes, then you have to proceed for further. It is positive pressure ventilation and put pulse oximeter and consider for cardiac monitoring. And coming to the positive pressure ventilation, it is the main thing in the resuscitation of the newborns, delivering proper positive pressure ventilation is the cornerstone of whole NRP. Okay, and so this should be established. The breath should be established either by giving positive pressure ventilation, or baby should be crying by himself, or baby should have been established the breathing by himself, and all these things should be established within 1 minute. So this is called golden minute. So when after baby born, you will see for tone and breathing or crying, and if answer is no for anyone, then you do the initial steps, that warm, dry, stimulate, suction position and suction if needed. Then consider then see whether whether there is apnea or gasping or heart rate is less than 100 or not. If any one of the out of two is yes, then you can proceed for positive pressure ventilation. So how to do positive pressure ventilation? How to give positive pressure ventilation? So here I have this self-inflating bag, also known as ambu bag. We will connect the reservoir also. You have to this is mask. So you have to take the mask so that mask is appropriate for the baby. How can you say the mask is appropriate for baby? So that mask should cover mouth and nose, but the mask should not exceed beyond this boundary, that it should not extend behind the chin, or it should not extend to the eyes. That is, if you put the mask, it should cover only nose and mouth, and should not extend beyond the chin, or it should not extend onto the eyes. So you should take the proper mask. And how to insert to the self-inflating gun? You have to put your thumb like this, and you have to insert it like this. Okay. And how to give the resuscitation? Suppose how to give positive pressure ventilation. To give positive pressure ventilation, so we have done all the initial steps, and we have put even pulse oximeter, and we are considering for putting ECG. So this is self-inflating bag. So before giving positive ventilation, and in the equipment check, we have already we have checked the whether it is functioning or not by compressing on the closed thumb, that whether it's required or not. Okay, and it should cover the mouth and nose, and you have to hold it in a CE position. So C for pressing the mask here, and E for the lifting the chin up. So by pressing in a CE position and lifting here, you have to give the breath. How to give the breath? So breath is given like breath 2 3, breathe 2 3, breathe 2 3. So the rate should be around 40 to 60 in a minute. And whenever you are giving the positive pressure ventilation, you have to see for chest rise is there or not. Suppose I am giving the breath, and one more person is monitoring the baby for both chest rise is there or not, and heart rate whether it's increasing or not. So whenever we are giving the positive pressure ventilation, first indicator that it is effective ventilation is rise in the heart rate. And NRP recommends to give the positive pressure ventilation for 15 seconds, like breathe 2 3, breathe 2 3, breathe 2 3, breathe 2 3. So after 15 seconds, we have to assess whether there was chest rise was there or not, and whether heart rate is improving. After 15 seconds, there are three possibilities. One is there is chest rise is there and heart rate is also increasing. Then continue the positive pressure ventilation for another 15 seconds. Second option is chest rise is there but heart rate is not increasing. Then also continue the positive pressure ventilation for further 15 seconds. Third option is chest rise is also not there and heart rate is also not there. Then in that condition, you can do the corrective steps, that is known as MR SOPA or Mr. SOPA, that is mask, replying and reposition of the baby, and you have to deliver five breaths further. Breath 2 3, breathe 2 3, breathe 2 3, breathe 2 3, breathe 2 3. So after 5 breaths, you have to assess once again whether chest rise is there or not. If still chest rise is not there, then you have to do the next two of the MR SOPA, that is SO, that is suctioning of the mouth and then opening of the suctioning of the mouth and opening of the mouth, and give further 5 breaths. Breathe 2 3, breathe 2 3, breathe 2 3, breathe 2 3, breathe 2 3. So we have done MR, then gave the 5 breaths. If no chest rise, then we gave the SO, that is suction and opening of the mouth, and gave the 5 breath. If still there is no chest rise, then you can increase the pressure you are giving. So in self-inflating bag, we cannot identify how much pressure we are giving, but whenever we are giving the pressure, so whenever we are giving the pressure, positive pressure ventilation through TPs, we can adjust the pressure that we are delivering. So recommended pressure whenever we are giving the positive pressure ventilation is 20 to 25, and you can go maximum in preterms up to 30, and in term babies up to 35 to 40. So in the third step, that is after MR and after SO, you can, in the P, that is increasing the pressure, you can increase the pressure from 20 to 25 to, if it's a preterm, up to 30, and if it's a term, up to 35 to 40, and give 5 more breaths. If still there is no chest rise, then you have to consider for intubation of the baby, that is alternate airway. So whenever we are giving the positive ventilation for prolonged duration, we have to put our orogastric tube, because of prolonged positive ventilation, air can even enter the esophagus and stomach, and abdomen can start distending. So to put the orogastric tube, to put the OG tube, so you should know that we are giving the positive ventilation, and we don't want to get positive ventilation to get interrupted. So with the mask, you have to measure, so that you will measure from the bridge of the nose to the earlobe, and from earlobe midpoint between the sternum and the umbilical. So you will give the positive pressure breath and assess after 15 seconds whether there is chest rise is there or not, and heart rate is increasing or not. If there is chest rise and heart rate is also increasing, you give further 15 seconds and you will assess. So along with that, you have put the pulse oximeter and consider for cardiac monitor. If heart rate is more than 100, then you can continue the positive pressure ventilation as long as baby is not having the good spontaneous breath. If baby develops good spontaneous breath, then you can terminate the positive pressure ventilation. But if the baby is not having good spontaneous breath, it has not been mentioned that till how many, like what time you have to deliver the positive pressure ventilation. But you can consider to give positive ventilation for some time, and if it's good spontaneous breath is not coming, then you can consider for intubation. But if after giving positive ventilation also, if heart rate remains less than 100, then ensure adequate ventilation and consider endotracheal tube or cardiac monitoring. That is, you have to consider after doing MR SOPA also, if there is no increase in the chest rise, then you have to intubate the baby and deliver adequate ventilation for at least for 30 seconds before going for the next step, that is chest compression. Even when there is no chest rise also, because at least 30 seconds of effective ventilation is very much recommended. Well, after giving positive preventive ventilation also, if heart rate is persistently less than 100, then ensure adequate ventilation and consider endotracheal tube intubation. So to do endotracheal intubation, this is laryngoscope, and there are two sizes of blades. This is 0 size, and one more size will be 1 size. So there are two blade sizes. You have to insert it, and you have to take the appropriate ET tube. So for ET tube, recommended is for less than 1 kg it is 2.5, and between 1 to 2 kg it is 3 mm, and more than 3 kg it either 3.5 or 4. And the procedure of intubation is, you have to laryngoscope will be inserted inside, and it has to be pulled in this direction. That is, it should it should not be done in the wrist like this. It should be lifted like this. So after putting like this, you have to pull it like in this direction, and you have to insert the ET not along this line. You should put by the side of this, because you are seeing, you are making a view through this line, so you should not try to put the ET tube here. So after putting like this, you are pulling it like pulling the whole mouth and mouth in this direction, that is in up and above and in the forward direction, and you will put by the side of that by making the inlet of the larynx, and you have to fix it. And to fix it, you have to measure the what distance it should be fixed. You can measure the distance from the nasal to the tragus, and the fixation number will be nasal tragal length plus 1. After intubation, you can continue the breath like breath 2 3, breath 2 3, breath 2 3, breath 2 3. After intubation also, and effective after giving effective ventilation for 30 seconds after intubation, if chest heart rate is not improving and heart rate is still less than 60, then along with the intubation, you have to consider for chest compression. You have to know that whenever you are giving positive ventilation, if gestation is more than 35 weeks, we will give through 21% of oxygen. But if it is less than 35 weeks, we can give between 21 to 30%. But the moment we are starting chest compression, you should always give 100% of oxygen. So we are already giving the baby breath through ET. Now we are going to start chest compression. So whenever we have to give chest compression, the person who is giving positive intubation will move to the left side of the baby, and I will move to the head end of the baby, and I will do chest compression. Why I am coming to the head end is that another person will get the space to put the UVC at the time when we are giving the chest compression. So chest compression, you can give a chest compression by thumb encircling method or 2-finger method. Here we'll place the thumb just below the line joining the nipple. Okay, and we will put the your thumb like in this position, but you should ensure that your nail should not be touching the skin. And by putting like this, I will deliver the chest compression like 1 and 2 and 3 and breath in. 1 and 2 and 3 and breath in. So you should note that chest compression. So chest should go until 1/3 of the anterior posterior chest diameter. So we have to deliver total 90 compressions and 30 breaths in a 1 minute. So total of 120. So 1 and 2 and 3 and breath in. 1 and 2 and 3 and breath in. 1 and 2 and 3 and breath in. So along with this, so 1 ml of adrenaline contains 1000 milligram. So you have to dissolve 1 ml in 9 ml of normal saline. So it will give 1:10,000 dilution. So in that dilution, you can give 0.2 ml per kg along with NS bolus of 3 ml. So if you are not able to get the IV access through UVC, you can give a dose through endotracheal tube also. The dose will be equal to the in ml per kg of 1:10,000 dilution, equal to the weight of the baby. That is, if baby's weight is around 2 kg, then you will give 2 ml through the ET tube. But the time you get the IV access, you should leave the dose that you are given through the ET tube, and you have to freshly give the fresh dose through the IV line. You can repeat the injection epinephrine every 3 to 5 minutes. And if the heart rate is not improving, that is, if it persistent is less than 60, then you have to consider other possible diagnosis like hypovolemia and pneumothorax. So when you are recitating, and how long to give the recitation if baby is not responding. So NRP recommends you should continue recitation for 20 minutes from birth, and if there is no sensor life even after that, you can consider, based on the condition, you can consider to terminate the recitation.